everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Spark Nexus Journeys That Inspire. Today we have with us Mrs. Aditi Balbir. She is the founder and CEO of We Resorts, a fellow at Low Carbon Earth, and an entrepreneur at Ecotourism. Welcome on board, ma'am. I'm so glad to have you here with us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining, ma'am. So, we'd like to start off by asking you to tell us something about yourself and your journey.
Sure. So basically, like you said, I'm an entrepreneur in ecotourism. Okay. Before being an entrepreneur, I worked with a private equity firm, worked with a venture capital firm, also worked for a couple of years with McKinsey. So I did have some flavor of the corporate world before I became an entrepreneur. My first venture was a company called We Resorts, which basically was a company that was managing leisure boutique stays across India. And it was, at that time, the model was very new because this was a category that was unexplored. We didn't know back, 10 years back now, that, people would prefer small boutique properties to big hotel chains. It was a new category. And we were able to create a category which we now know as experiential tourism, where people say that I want to go to a new place, I want to experience a new thing, I want to know how the locals live. So that concept is something that I developed. And we were able to exit that company even before COVID happened. And after that, we are now working on a new venture, which is in ecotourism, because I feel that is now the next big thing that is going to happen. That hotels will need to become green because customers and people who are going to these places will also appreciate that they are eco-friendly, right? Eco-friendly actually is important because it means two, three things for the customer. See, unless it means something for the customer, they're not going to be very interested in it. So for the customer, what it really means is, one, that you really get that local connect. You'll be able to speak to, meet and interact with the locals over there and see how they live. That's something which is very enriching in terms of the experience, right? And the second thing that you will have clarity on is that it is a safe and a healthy place. Environment is healthy, soil pollution is not there. You can expect that, the hotels which are running eco-friendly resorts are also taking care of the area around it. There will be biodiversity. All the things again that is important has become very important for the consumer. Think about it, you go for a little holiday, you go to a place where, there was earlier a lake, now it's dried up, It's such a sad story. Nobody wants to be around that anymore. पहले हम बड़े desensitized होते थे. So people didn't have a problem. Now they have big issues. So nobody would want to go to a place like that. So for ecotourism, I think has become important now, and hotels will take notice of that because consumers demand that they do.
So, ma'am, from what you have seen, how do you think that responsible ecotourism can help the local communities? Like, how do you think it can involve them, and what are all the benefits that they get from that?
Actually, the local community gets pretty much all the benefits that you can think of. We notice and we basically map them out around the United Nations SDGs, which is the Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, so all the way from job creation, skill development, creating entrepreneurship opportunities for people over there, creating local activities that the locals can execute. Creating local products that can be housed, in the souvenir stores. That is the direct impact of the job creation angle that happens, right? Or the income generation thing that happens for the local community. Apart from that, a lot of indirect benefits also happen. So think of a resort which is very careful about its effluents or its wastage. That particular area will be cleaner, it will be greener, the air will be, better. The farmers will have better access to, the soil will be pure. It will not be full of chemicals, etc. The water bodies around that property will be so much more healthier. So, direct benefits to hai that, the income is increasing. But around that, a lot of environment benefits are there, which are super long term. And that's really the importance of ecotourism. That should happen at the micro level. We can create big resorts, which we call it eco-friendly. We can create big diversity parks. but that won't cut it. It will happen only when everyone in that area starts thinking different. And basically, that's what we're working on.
No, that's very important, especially now. Involving the local communities, I think, is much like the best solution to more sustainability. Yeah,
Ma'am, since you're working in rural areas, you might face some challenges, right? Like lack of infrastructure and everything. How do you overcome that?
So in fact, that is another one of the, let's say, the sustainable development goals. How much do you, take part in the, in the overall development of that place? So, for example, I can give an example. We had a resort, in some offbeat place in Uttarakhand, and we helped build the road, right from the lake to our property. Now, small steps. It's not as if you're going to create a lot of, suddenly, there's going to be great infrastructure. But within those 10 years, what I really saw was that infrastructure kept getting developed. It kept happening. Every single day, we could see that something or the other was happening. One day a small kirana store happened. The next day, a small entertainment center happened. So basically, all these things happen on its own when footfalls are created. When that place starts getting in, that's when all these things automatically start happening. So even on infrastructure, it will take time. It will take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But over that period of time, you'll see that the infrastructure keeps on getting better and better. And that's the whole idea. That's why we also call ecotourism as microtourism, right?
Ma'am, do you use renewable resources of energy in your company? Like talking about
Yes.
sustainability.
Yes. That's one of the largest components of, carbon emissions. And that is something which is always a focus area. Very interesting, different sorts of energy, uses can be there. Hotels tend to use biomass again. So there are these, they're not very expensive, these biomass plants. And especially places which are rich in, forest or biodiversity has access to the material that goes into it. So a lot of the LPG usage in the kitchens is substituted by the biomass. Of course, there is solar power. As the panels become easier, the plant load factor, keeps decreasing, and when the batteries become more efficient, it becomes very easy to start using small solar panels. And almost every property is already employing things like energy saving appliances or LED bulbs. This is like the default that has happened. So a whole lot of things happen in energy, in renewable energy. We reuse a lot of water. We create something called grey water. Grey water is, goes back into the flushing systems or into the gardens, and it's otherwise it would be wasted. That water would be wasted. But here we bring the usage of the water down. So there are lots and lots of different ways, and this is actually pretty much the hottest sector, that we're looking at ways to use renewable energies in all the different departments in the hotel. The main reason why a hotelier would do that is because it's cost efficient. It reduces their operating costs, right? And energy is 20 to 30% of the entire cost of running a hotel. So it makes financial sense for them to integrate these.
Are there any specific like tactics that you guys have, specific your company has in specific, to reduce the use of plastic, maybe like recycling?
We actually, we actually have something called a no plastic policy. Okay, so plastics is something which which really hampers the environment in different ways, right? All the way from impacting life below water to life on land. So all these are basically the LPG. So we actually focus on creating processes and systems where the plastic usage can be nil or minimal, right? So I can give you examples of that. All toiletries have to be plastic. They cannot be glass. They cannot be anything breakable, because you can't have something breakable in the bathrooms. But you could have big dispensers which are non-plastic, and you can use that. Again, cost efficiency for the hotels. Okay. Then we have there's no plastic furniture. All that is replaced by other sorts of furniture for the outdoors, because again, most of the furniture outdoors is plastic. So we do away with that. A large usage of plastic is in the packaging. itself. That is something which is, a very difficult to do away with because a lot of materials that are used which are plastic. But we do things like, try and buy big disposable sort of, things in big containers. So that, the packet comes once and then we keep on refilling. So that is one way that you could do it. One of the main things that we use in the kitchen is the clean film. Unfortunately, right now there's no replacement for that. Okay, we're still waiting that there will be a replacement. But there are lots and lots of replacements for things like garbage bags. There are biodegradable garbage bags that are available now. So again, like I said, plastics are used in different parts of the entire hotel, and we really use it. They're very easy processes. So that's why I feel that becoming eco-friendly is not very. It's not very difficult if you know where to go and how to access it. So that's what we focus on. So we do focus on basically like a no plastic sort of a policy to be able to reduce that.
Jumping off that slightly, do you think there are any renewable or like environmentally friendly tactics that you think every hotelier should follow? Like it's so easy that every business should be following it.
All our processes are mostly things that you can easily follow. So just to give you an example, right? You could look at the big chains. Even the big chains have started employing local people as part of their staff, right? So that in any case is there. But we encourage, like this whole thing about experience has become big, right? So what we would really encourage is that we would tell the hotelier that, find other people in the village or have experiences in the village, in the local village, where you could have a village walk, you could have maybe a meal in a villager's house, maybe tea time, or some activity where you get to interact with them. These things are so easy to do. The local community involvement part is all free. There's nothing free that you have to do. You just maybe have to spend some time and effort in training those people. Okay, and they're so sticky. They don't run away anywhere. There's no attrition there because that's their home. So where will they go? So there are lots of advantages for the hotel to follow. So the local community part is even on the carbon emission part. I just gave you an example of plastic, right? So easy to do, so easy to implement. I mean, everybody can do it. In any case, now, plastic is also seen as it's the cheaper or the budget places which have plastic. You see, the luxury places don't have plastic. We don't associate luxury with plastic anymore. It's time to cut there, but now we do. So, and you have very small steps to really take up all these processes in your own hotel. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's really not that complex.
From your experience in the sustainability industry, I mean in the hotelier industry, like specifically in sustainability, what is an unsustainable practice that you've seen that's being followed by, like a most unsustainable practice that you like them to stop?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, chains are very focused on the quality of their food. Okay. Now, like you must have seen things on the menu that say Australian lamb chops. Okay, so now they're coming all the way from Australia, or New Zealand lamb chops, because they are the best in the world. So they're coming all the way from Australia. That has the highest carbon footprint. So the procurement process, okay, is where that is the most unsustainable part of the hotel's usage. That is basically what we need to reduce. So why are they very focused on this? Because they want exotic things on their menu. So now again, it depends on the consumer mindset. Instead of focusing on things that have come, say if you want to eat lobster in Delhi, it has to come all the way from Chennai or from Bombay, and that is the stuff that is unsustainable. The procurement where things are flying, they're being flown in. That is the unsustainable part of the hotel's operations, and that is something that we need to do away with. Local procurement is something which, again, I mean, think of it that way. If I'm going to a city hotel where there's no water, okay, why should I have the lobster? I don't think I shouldn't be having it. I should be having the local delicacy of that place, right? I'd be more concerned about that. Why should I be focusing on having lots, or why should I be focusing on having Australian lamb chops in India? I'll go to Australia if I want to. You know what I mean? So we have to make local sexy. We have to make it luxurious in the minds of the consumer, and that's the most important thing. And I'm seeing again the mindset change. A lot of chains like ITC hotels have changed their procurement policy. They also don't mind fish and things like that, which are endangered. For example, that another example is Basa. Comes all the way, from somewhere, and it's a very unsustainable fish. So whenever you see Basa somewhere, you don't have it because it's not, and it's frozen. It's not even fresh. Why would you have it? So here these things, non-fresh, local, that's the whole fun. And that's where the sector is moving.
Also, ma'am, something which is, I've heard that something which is procured local is healthy for you. And something which, you got it from somewhere far abroad, it's not healthy, it loses its nutrition value.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. It is completely not healthy because it is frozen after nutrients of it, they're gone. That's exactly true. The healthiest food is procured locally. Think about it, when you, even in your own garden, in the heart of the city, if you're growing some vegetable, you taste that vegetable vis-a-vis what you get in the market, and you'll know that the taste is different. So that is absolutely true.
On a slightly related note, a lot of businesses, they claim to be green or ecologically friendly. I've heard that a lot of businesses who do that, it turns out that they have a very unsustainable practices that they're not revealing it out to the public. But some companies are very genuine in their claims and they're trying to make a difference. So how do you think that we as consumers can learn to discern it, or what specifically in the hospitality industry, how can we make sure that we're giving our patronage to a business who's actually trying to help out the local community rather than destroy it?
Well, that's the business case for my new company, okay? And it is not up to the consumer to be discerning at all. It is up to third-party providers, people who have no skin in the game, to say that, yes, these are sustainable products. So think of ISO certifications and the likes. We are actually trying to do exactly that. We are building up a rating mechanism where you will just go to that platform and see how eco-friendly a property is. See, I won't say that some of them are very unsustainable. I would say that, look, if I have an organic garden, I can claim to be eco-friendly, but the customer doesn't know how eco-friendly. It's it's akin to, say, TripAdvisor. Before TripAdvisor also, there were customer reviews, right? People used to review properties, but there was no number. There was nothing which said 4 on 5. Like, a lot of people could say, look, this resort is amazing, but if suppose the number is 3 on 5, would you go there? You'll be like, no, it's looking a bit dodgy, right? So similarly, you need to have very transparent rating platforms and rating mechanisms to tell the customer that go to this property, it's 8 on 10 on eco-friendly. And why is it 8 on 10? Because of these reasons. You understand? Go to this property, it is 5 on 10. It doesn't mean don't go, because there are still 5 things that they do that, that make them eco-friendly. So that's the way to think about it.
Okay, from sustainability to hospitality industry, so what do you think are the important things to keep in mind if you are an entrepreneur in the hospitality industry to succeed in that industry?
Look, I'm actually not from the hospitality industry at all. Okay, so I don't claim to be an expert in the hospitality industry from any angle. But there are lots and lots of models in hospitality. At the present time, as you must be seeing, it's not very much in vogue. Every sector has its day, so to speak. So when the OYOs, all of us came together, OYO, We Resorts, we all started in 2014, we got funded. So, I mean, it completely depends. There are still a lot of models which are sustainable. Every chain I know is getting into small boutique stays, experiential stays. Alternative accommodation is very large. So all these sectors are always pretty hot. Homestays is becoming an interesting category. So, I mean, frankly, there are lots and lots of, new sectors which are emerging in hospitality where, anyone can fit in. But it is not really for me to comment on, anything else within that sector.
Ma'am, can you comment on something, what will be the future, what we can see, the future of hospitality or tourism industry?
Yeah, tourism is basically, so I'll first talk about hotels, then I'll talk about tourism, right? In the hotels, like I said, alternative accommodation is big. Okay, so those days where you wanted a 4-star or a 5-star are, a little bit less, and where you want boutique properties and offbeat properties has become the vogue. So that is one. Then if we look at the tourism sector per se, social social traveling is when either maybe there is a local guide who can take you around to a particular place, or maybe there is a group of people who come together and say we're going to do this particular experience together. Those things are really picking up a lot. Okay, so again, all these are very high on experience, let's say. So that category is really becoming very big right now. But the way that I see the future in hospitality is, this is more a need than really a trend. Is that all hotels will have to look at their eco-friendly practices, their sustainability practices, because in any case, if there is a burden on the entire industry, there are these goals set for every industry, and the industry by 2030 has to reduce its carbon emissions by 50%, and then by 90% by 2050 to be able to meet the Paris Agreement. So every industry has a burden on itself to meet those numbers. And I feel that, our business can be that catalyst for change, for to be able to push those hotels and those people to start thinking on those lines. See, at the end of the day, we must know that, the chains are very few. It is actually the independent properties which form the majority of hotels or resorts in the entire world, and it is that category that has to adopt, not just the chains can adopt. The chains have money also, they can spend money on sustainability. It's actually the other guys that have to adopt, where they don't have the money, they don't have the marketing with all, they don't have the accessibility. So the models that we develop in sustainability have to be scalable to the extent that they don't require too much money to be spent on them. And that's why we're trying to build processes which are all capital, we do not require capital, capex zero, basically. So that's what I would say.
That's very important. With this, we're heading towards the end of the session. Ma'am, lastly, we would like to request you to give the viewers like a final advice to any budding entrepreneurs out there, maybe specifically in the hotel industry or just in general.
Honestly, I mean, I keep getting this question, and there's no advice. Yeah, I mean, I'd say there are two main things. One, entrepreneurship is a way of life, so it is something that has the toughest daily journey and the highest rewards. Also, the highest failures as well, because you might not succeed at what you're doing, right? So if you do, then the reward is too great, but if you fail, then you fail, and you're like any other, right? So you never make it, you never become the big guys, let's say it that way, right? So it is very tough, and on a daily basis it is very grueling, because it is all about every day you're trying to figure out, you're trying to solve problems, you're trying to figure out something new. It's pretty tough. I mean, it's, again, like I said, it's not meant for people who like regimented days, who are very disciplined, who would want to work, go home, do other stuff in life. It's pretty all consuming. So I think entrepreneurship, as a tip, I would say, should only be tried once you have some little bit of work ex under your belt, because there I feel that is where you get the discipline of coming to office every day, of working those 12 hours every day, of that grueling thing. Because as entrepreneurs, you will have to do that. If you don't do that, your chances are even more that you won't make it, right? So some amount of discipline and all is really required. And I do think that very early on, when people become entrepreneurs, wo thoda sa kam hota hai. I don't see the ethics that strong. So that is something that I would say. But I've been proven wrong also many times. There are a lot of people who do really well. They're very young, that in like 21, 22, and they become entrepreneurs. So I don't know. But entrepreneurship, the main thing that I want to say is that don't overthink it. There's nothing to think about. In fact, if you're thinking, then you're probably not a good entrepreneur. You just jump into it. It just happens for you. So just jump into it. Don't overthink too much.
Thank you so much. That was a very inspiring session. I actually learned a lot. I hope everyone who's watching along. that, we come to the end of our session. Thank you so much for all the viewers for listening in. If you go down to the description box, you can see the timestamps if you want to look through the questions that we asked. Again, thank you so much for joining us now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining.